Imagine having this massive dream of starting up a YouTube channel and becoming famous and making a really big impact in the world. And then you work your little hands off, and then a few months later, you burn out. You burn out and you think, what is next? But then you pick up the pieces again and grow it back up again and get a following of 761,000 subscribers on YouTube. Well, that's exactly what happened to my next guest. He went through an incredible stage of burnout, but then picked up the pieces and built it back up again, which is just incredible. And today, I'm going to be talking to him. It's actually an old friend of mine, which we might get into a little bit in the call today. And so I'm very, very excited to hear the story and catch up on where things left off since we talked last. Welcome, my name is Gideon Shalwick. I'm the founder of Splashio, and we help people get their videos ready for social media and make them a lot more engaging. If you want to find out more, please visit splashio.com. But before we get into it, check out our new logo animation. How cool is that? All right, so let me bring in my next guest. His name is Nick Nimmin. Nick, welcome to the call.
Hey, Gideon, thanks for having me on here, man. Super excited to have this conversation. And I got to be transparent here. This is kind of a surreal moment for me. When I first started my YouTube channel, you were one of the very few people that I was watching, one of the very few people at the time even talking about YouTube. So super excited to be here having this conversation on your channel. It's surreal. Yeah.
Well, totally. And, I was just thinking about that because, it's almost, it's a bit like the master becoming the student, but on a very big scale. Because you've now been able to really build things up to a whole new level. I think I kind of left YouTube when I got to 40,000 subscribers, and back then it was kind of a big deal. There's no one else really in this space, and but now looking at that compared to like a almost 800,000 follower count, it's a whole new level. And it's just been amazing watching your growth and seeing what you've been able to do and the influence you've been able to have. So I'm really, really looking forward to today's call, man. And it's so good to have you.
Yeah, likewise. Really excited about it. And, one of the things that I think is a key thing for anybody that's, watching this right now or listening to it is, in this situation where I'm, here on Gideon's channel, if you're watching this conversation, you haven't started a YouTube channel yet and you want to, and you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I don't even know if I can do this sort of thing. Like, I just want to bring it to your attention that, I was watching Gideon's videos, back when he was sharing information about like growing on YouTube. And even, when he made his office video and he had and he was, showing around his office and things like that, I was watching that video and, right. I was watching from the outside, never, had talked to Gideon before, now I'm here, hanging out on the show. It's the possibilities that are there for you when you take risks are massive. And this, this interview right here is a case in point for that. So if you're considering it, definitely stop considering it and start, trying to go after whatever it is that you are wanting to go after.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to kickstart this conversation. I think it's definitely your testimony to starting out and not really knowing where things are going to go, and then being able to really pull it off in a really, really big way. So kudos to you, man. Just complete standing ovation, which is really awesome. Now I want to kickstart the first official off with this call with this question. I want you to take us back to that time that you got burnt out. And to be honest, before I did my research on today's call, I didn't realize that you went through a burnout stage. And, I've been there too. I've had a burnout before in the past as well, and it's horrible. But take us back to the events leading up to that, and then how you managed to pick up the pieces and continue, but not only just continue, but also really, really thrive to what you've got today.
Sure. So the thing that led me to burnout, and I'll actually start a little bit before that. So I started my YouTube channel, didn't really have an idea of what to do like most people when they start a YouTube channel. And I was just kind of trucking along, and somebody else that I was watching at the time, Daryl Leaves is his name, he made a YouTube video about him crossing 100,000 subscribers. And he said that if my content has ever done anything for you, send me a video. And if it's good, then it might end up in the video. And I was like, hey, this is great. I've been watching this guy as well. So let me send him a video and see what happens. And plus just to let him know that, that his content has served me in some way. So I sent him that video and he got back to me I won't say immediately, but it was really quick, within 24 to 48 hours. And he said, "Hey, I looked at your YouTube channel. I think that the type of content that you're currently doing is limiting in terms of the potential that you have based on how you present on camera, the quality of your image, how everything sounds, basically like how you put everything together. And I would like to offer you to work with you on another channel." And for me at the time, I was like, I'm watching this guy. He's crossing 100,000 subscribers. He knows what it is that he's doing because he's a YouTube coach. And this is a huge opportunity for me. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to, make this work out. So we started working on a new channel. We went through the planning process, and I started publishing content. And he told me when I started the YouTube channel, he told me, he said, "Nick," he said, "YouTube is a long game. Sometimes it can take some time to start getting momentum on your YouTube channel. And because of that, you got to make sure that you are publishing at a cadence that you can sustain for a long period of time." And me, just being the type of person I am, instead of heeding that advice, which I should have done, I'm like, okay, yep, I'm all in. And I just started publishing, way more than I should have for the type of content that I was making, just because of the amount of time that it took to make the content, research everything. And I was doing that while also running a design business. And over time, it started getting to the point to where I have so much time to make videos, and I have so much time to work on the design business, but I started really enjoying the YouTube side of things. And because of that, I would start leaning more on, well, hey, let me get this client thing finished up real quick so I can start start working on some of these YouTube videos, because that was clearly what I was more interested in at the time. But unfortunately, what started happening is I got myself into a situation to where I was waking up, and as soon as I rolled out of bed, I would take a shower, eat some breakfast, maybe drink a coffee really fast, but then I'm right there in front of a computer, and I'm there in front of the computer doing my design stuff or working on a YouTube video. And then as soon as whichever one I was doing there to start the day was finished, then I would hop on the other thing, which was either design or working on the YouTube content. And what it ended up happening is I spent like a 9-month period to where from the time I woke up to the time that I went to bed, all I was doing was pretty much hanging out in front of a computer. I wasn't going out and doing much socially. I was just kind of in this cave, so to speak, of just, trying to do something, right? And what ended up happening is trying to do everything at that point in time in terms of, keeping the design business going, and also trying to do YouTube, because I wasn't monetized on YouTube at the time, at least not enough where I was able to depend on that as an income source. So I started running into even more problems that started complicated things, because since I was putting more time on the YouTube channel and not putting as much effort into my clients at the time, what I started doing at that point in time was making angry clients. So then, in addition to the whole reason that I started a YouTube channel in the first place, which was to get away from, working with a particular group of clients that we were working with at the time, and just to find like a new path, so to speak. But in addition to that, I started making clients that were happy previously, I started making them uncomfortable. And because of that, I had the stress of that piling on, plus not having the, not maintaining a solid social life and not a good work-life balance and all of that. And then everything just came crashing in on me to where I was like, you know what, I just can't do this. I spent like a week just not doing anything, where I just like pretty much shut everything off, and I just like laid around and walked around and just tried to get inside of my own brain in terms of what I was wanting to do and things like that. But it just completely exhausted me, and I just ran out of energy. And because of that, that's where I decided that I was hooked on YouTube, because that was crystal clear in terms of the path, because I was so interested in doing it. But I was at a point still to where I wasn't generating enough income from the YouTube channel to just go all in on YouTube at that point in time. So I had to pull back and say, okay, this is the thing that I want to do, but right now I can't do that the way that I'm currently doing it. So what can I do in order to make it possible, so that I can start walking down the road of doing YouTube all the time? And then that's when, I went through the process of, building a website and, starting to offer services through that website and things like that, in order to start focusing more on YouTube. But what I had to do in order for that to happen is I had to stop uploading to the other channel, and I had to basically just reorganize everything that was going on, reorganize my day, reorganize the type of content that I was going to make, and basically just write out a whole new blueprint of what it was that I was going to do, for the sake of being able to do YouTube to a point to where I would be able to detach from the design thing and go all in on YouTube. Now, in complete transparency, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before anywhere else, but in complete transparency, my original plan was to get things on my current channel to a point to where it was generating enough income that it was sustainable enough that I could bring people on board, so that in terms of, working with me, so that I could go back to the other channel and keep making content on another channel as well.
Right.
However, along this journey, I found a lot of fulfillment as well. And that fulfillment that I found on this journey in terms of just helping people, that fulfillment ended up making me just stay on this channel instead of trying to go to, instead of trying to re-upload to the other channel.
So that's
really pretty much the burnout in a nutshell.
Right. So what strikes me there is that there was, certain, I guess, different energies there in terms of the different things you were working on. You were talking about in the design business, you had to kind of get rid of some clients and making people unhappy. And I'm sure that would have really sucked your energy dry. And then as you shifted gears towards, your current YouTube channel, where you're helping, people grow the YouTube channels and a bunch of other things, it seems like there was a shift in energy for you. Would that be an accurate way of putting it?
Without question. So when I was, every time I was making videos, like for me, that was, and even on the other channel, every time I was making the videos, like I was getting, energy from that. Like I knew that was something that I really loved to want to do. I just, at that point in time, I just couldn't see, I didn't understand YouTube then like I do now in terms of the opportunity available and in terms of, I can't. 3 feet from gold, I think, is the name of the idea. But the thing that is possible with that channel is I could have stopped 3 feet from gold, but I'll never know, right? However, the value that I'm able to add on my current channel, it's worth whatever happened or would have happened over there. Like what I'm doing now, in my opinion, is more worth it. But in terms of I completely, Gideon, I apologize. I completely lost my train of thought.
That's all right. I've got another follow-up question for you. So, because the what I'm wondering about is that as you were sort of going through that process, because I think this is important, especially for people who've been trying to succeed on YouTube. There's a lot of thoughts going through your mind. Is this worth me doing? Is this worth me continuing? Which direction should I take? So what happened with you? How did you end up essentially deciding that your current YouTube channel is the one to focus on? Was it a gradual thing? Was there a flick one point in your mind? Tell me a bit more about that. How did you end up deciding this is it, and this is where I'm going to put my focus?
I didn't know for sure that it was it yet. But the one thing that I did know is that the current channel, because I started with this channel and then I left this channel stagnant for a while I was working on the other one, and then I came back to this one. But the one thing that I did know was that the content on this channel was easier to make. And when I started this channel, I wasn't talking about growing YouTube channels and things like that because I didn't know how to do that. I was copying people like you to where, I'm making videos about how to be comfortable on camera, how to come up with video ideas, like that sort of thing at the time, because I didn't know about, actually, the mechanics of growing or the systems behind growing a YouTube channel. So because of that, I was just focused on things like that for video people, but I was also making videos about productivity and that sort of thing as well. But when I came back to the channel after gaining all the knowledge that I gained working with Daryl, I came back to the channel and I knew that I had to have a plan. I needed to make it clear of who it was that I was targeting with the content. And I also needed to get monetization in place so that I would be able to go full-time on YouTube as quickly as possible. And with the current channel, when I came back to this, it's like, okay, all I have to do in this situation is make content for people that are interested in video in some way in terms of video creation, and I need to build a resource for those people. So if I build a resource for those people, then I can start offering services and products to those people, and then that will be the bridge that will help me go full-time on YouTube as fast as possible.
Very cool. And, certainly one of the things I noticed about you right from the beginning was, your presence on camera. And I want to cover that as well a little bit later in the call. How, because you've had a shift as well, right? You've shifted from, very scripted sort of stuff to much more natural. And I do want to cover that in a second. First of all, though, I want to ask you this question because I'm sure everybody watching this might be wondering, how the heck did he do it? Going from, probably when we connected the first time, I don't know how many subscribers you had, or maybe when you were following me the first time. I think maybe you mentioned somewhere that you only had like 150,000 sorry, not 150,000, 150 subscribers on your channel. And, now with, 761,000 subscribers, that's a whole new ball game. What do you think makes for a successful YouTube channel?
One, being very knowledgeable about who it is that you're trying to reach. And by knowledgeable, I don't just mean like, oh, I'm just trying to reach people that are interested in this thing. I mean knowledgeable in terms of you embed yourself in the communities around the types of things that you talk about in your videos, so you can really start to understand what makes the people that you're trying to reach tick. You can really understand what it is that they think about all the time. You can understand every struggle that they have when it comes to the thing that you're helping them out with. But really understanding who it is that you're making content for makes a huge difference, because when you know who it is that you're making content for, just like marketing, just like anything else, when you know who it is that you're targeting, it helps everything else that you're doing, because you're going to use certain words in your title that you wouldn't necessarily use if you weren't targeting that specific group of people. Your thumbnails are going to be a certain way to target those people, or you're going to use certain imagery. The topics that you choose to make videos about, those are going to be a certain thing. The way that you set up your studio, like literally everything that you do, the music that you use, all of it, it's going to be catered towards, that certain group of people. So having a deep understanding of them is important, and constantly striving to improve either the communication or how you're reaching those people is another thing that makes a big difference. But at the end of the day, once you understand who it is that you are making content for, then it comes down to content decisions. And with that, all you have to do is you have to go into, once you have things that start working, they don't have to blow up necessarily, but as soon as you have videos that start working on your YouTube channel, you can go, YouTube gives us our YouTube analytics inside of the YouTube studio, and you can go in, you can start uncovering what success looks like when you start publishing content. You can say, okay, this video, it looks like this in terms of all the metrics. So this is what a higher performing video on my YouTube channel looks like. So these are the numbers that I now am striving to hit. And then you start kind of building things around the numbers that you see on that, and just the content in general, topically, that people are responding to as well. In my situation, the audience led me into the position that I'm in right now. Like where I am, like some of it was planned, but a lot of it really was through just following the audience. And what happened on my current channel is, when I first came back to the channel, like I mentioned before, I wasn't sharing like YouTube growth stuff, because that wasn't my thing. That was stuff that, like Gideon knows how to do. That was stuff Daryl knows how to do, and Tim Schmoyer, and James. It's stuff that, that those guys know how to do. That's not me. But what happened is I published a video on YouTube SEO, and people asked me for more content like that. And I'm like, okay, SEO. So they like this. Let me make another video on SEO or something else about optimizing your videos. And then people are wanting more of that. And they started asking me questions. Hey, I'm trying to get more watch time. How do I do that? So I'm like, okay, let's make some videos about watch time, because a lot of people are asking me about this. And then next thing you know, I'm going through the process of getting like YouTube certified and all that, so I can make sure that I'm, serving the people that are asking me all these questions in the best way that I possibly can. And that literally led me to being somebody in the space that, people know and come to for advice now. So the path as it's unfolded has been, there's been, a plan to it, because I did write out a blueprint when I came back to the channel and said, I'm going to start, going hard on this particular channel in terms of the different assets I needed to create, and just kind of like a loose plan of what I was going to do. But in terms of how it actually turned out so far, because we're still going, but how it actually turned out so far, it's all based on, it's all based on how people have responded to what it is that I'm doing, and literally the questions that people ask me to solve for them.
So it sounds like it's been very organic in a way. So you've had the overall master plan, but essentially as you were doing it, it like sort of developed organically, because you couldn't necessarily foresee the questions that people might have in the future. And then, but you'd respond to that as you're creating content. You get the questions from, and then you create more content, etc. Would that be a fair way of putting it?
Absolutely. Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you're serving a certain group of people, those people, they have things that they're trying to overcome. And even if you don't know right away what those things are that they're trying to overcome, over time, they're going to tell you what those things are. And when you lean into that, it can make a really big difference on how people are responding to what it is that you're doing, because those people, when they're asking you questions, they're literally speaking the language of your audience in terms of the things that they care about and how they care about it. So you can use all of that stuff to reach them in a better way when you're putting your content together.
Beautiful. Now, one thing you mentioned during this discussion was the importance of getting to know the people that you're creating content for. Now, that's a big question that I think a lot of people struggle with in terms of, like, how do you figure out who these people are, and even if they're even on YouTube, like how do you get an idea of who the heck it is you're supposed to talk to? Is it, do you just sort of target one person at a time and then grow it from there, or did you go through some sort of an analysis of your perfect avatar, or did that also just kind of develop organically as well, especially initially at the beginning?
When I first came back to the channel, because of working with Daryl and getting the information from him in terms of targeting, when I first came back to my current channel, in that situation, I did have a avatar, and it was loose though in that situation, because I knew that with the skill sets that I had at the point in time, in order to be able to make graphics and motion graphics, things like that, that with that particular skill set and with my design background, that I could make stuff for people that make video content. So because of that, at the start, I just only knew, the only thing that I knew at that point in time was that I'm making content for people who make videos. And the reason that I'm making content for people that make videos is so that I can eventually get them over to my store, so that they can either buy something, or they can get they can hire me to do something. So in that situation, it was more about what it was that I needed as well. In terms of initially, it was what I needed in order to make happen what I was trying to make happen, which is going full time from my efforts on YouTube. In order to make that happen, I needed to be in front of people that were making videos, and then from there, everything else happened organically.
And if, by the way, if you're interested in that site that Nick's talking about, tubertools.com, check it out. It's pretty awesome. We can maybe talk about this a little bit more if there's time, but do check it out if you haven't yet. It gives you all these amazing clips that you can use inside your videos to become a better YouTube creator. Now, Nick, I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk about content and how you create it, because as I said before, I think that's one of the things that really stood out about you. Like it was like immediately, like within seconds of watching your first video, I remember this guy is good. He's like really good on camera. And it wasn't just that, it was you were great on camera, you had a great camera presence, but there was something about your production value as well that pulled me in. And I just remember thinking, there's a bright future ahead for this guy. When I saw that the first time. And I think that's maybe even before we actually connected, I saw one of your videos and I just, this is cool. Maybe I can't to be honest, I can't actually remember how we ended up connecting, whether I reached out to you or you reached out to me. Do you remember how do we connect?
Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
maybe what happened is maybe you started outranking one of my videos, and I thought I better get in touch with this guy. Okay, so the question I have, you've mentioned before that you've shifted gears from having a very scripted sort of approach to your videos, where you need to script the thing beforehand and read it, go one sentence at a time. Basically, I think James Wedmore did that as well, and recorded one sentence at a time. Read and then record and then read and that sort of thing. But then you shifted to a much more organic and natural approach. Just tell us a bit more about that and what that did for your channel.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the scripting side of things, I think scripting is extremely valuable. And I just want to, say this in terms of just making it clear. Scripting can be extremely valuable, especially when you're first getting started and you're not fully comfortable on camera yet, and you're not fully comfortable, sharing the information that you're sharing, or if you also have very technical information to where everything that you're saying needs to be technically accurate. Like, let's say, for example, you're talking about science or health related topics, to where the things that you say in a video, might end up impacting somebody in a negative way if you get it wrong. Then in that situation, using scripts, at least scripted areas of your videos for that technical information, is a great way to go for having that crutch that you can lean on for the sake of making sure that you get through it in the way that you need to. However, for me personally, I made videos initially on my YouTube channel. Every single word was scripted, every joke was scripted, every pause was scripted. And then when I went and worked on the other channel, same exact thing. Everything was scripted word for word on that channel as well. And then when I came back to my current channel, it was still scripted initially. But then I decided, I was like, okay, this whole thing, because again, we're working with time here because I'm trying to go full time and I'm still balancing my design service while I'm back on my current channel, right? Because I hadn't gone full time yet. So I'm still running into situations to where I'm like, man, I'm running out of time. I got to get this script together, and it started creating that stress again. So I'm like, okay, we got to find a solution to this. So after that, I started just going off of bullet points. Now, when I first started just using bullet points, all I would do in that situation is I would write down just a few ideas that I wanted to talk about, and then I would freestyle in terms of I would just have open thought and I would just communicate just like I am right now. And then after the video was done, then I would go through and I would cut out the parts, as needed, and cut out anything that was weird or that I didn't like out of the video. And then that would end up giving me a full video. Over time, I would say probably over the course of like 15 videos or so, I was able to fine tune that process to where I start learning things like, hey, if I end high here, maybe bring it in low, on the next clip and things like that. So that when I'm communicating naturally, I'm still able to give it kind of like a scripty vibe in terms of how I'm using my voice to end and start what it is that I'm saying. But at the end of the day, when I went from scripting to bullet points, I started communicating in the way that I communicate instead of the way that I think that I should be communicating. And once I started doing that, people right out of the gate started watching my videos for a longer period of time. They started having a better response to my videos. And I think, and this is theory, I don't know for sure, but I think it's because I wasn't being robotic, which some people will watch my videos when I was scripted and say that they're still okay. But me being the person that made it, like I can see that that's not me, right? So, in some of those scripted videos with those, they're robotic, and like if I would laugh, for example, it's scripted and it's crystal clear that it's scripted. That laugh is not a legitimate laugh. However, when I do it bullet points and then my brain comes up with something and I find it funny, then in that situation, I might actually, let that moment trail off and chuckle a little bit. And then I jump into the next clip. So the entire thing is just a lot more natural in that situation. But one of the things that I think made the difference is it went from I'm constructing this message that I'm going to be sharing with people into I'm just going to talk to people, right? I'm just going to talk to people and I'm just going to, share with them the different things that I know about different things. And I'm just going to communicate just, in a natural way. And people really started responding to that in a great way.
What do you think happened to your person, your being, as you went through that, from robotic to more you, I guess? What's do you think there's a bit more of a human element that came through as a result of that as well?
Freedom. Absolutely. Like freedom. And I don't mean that as an American. I mean freedom in terms of an internal, right? Freedom in terms of, just internal, like letting myself go. Like, this is going to sound weird to some people. Other people it'll resonate with. But one of the things that's interesting about YouTube and doing this sort of thing where you are constantly being judged by other people, one of the interesting things that happen is when you first get started, in some cases, in my case, we'll just put it on me. When I first got started, I was putting everything together in a way that I thought I should put things together. So for example, my very first video on my YouTube channel, my very first video to YouTube, I'm in like a button-up collared shirt. I wore makeup because I was insecure about, the circles under my eyes and like little, skin splotches or whatever. And basically what I was doing is I was stripping all of myself out of that video for the sake of making it in a way that I thought I should make it so that people would respond to it instead of being the natural version of me. And because of that, when you are putting on, makeup to make a video, or you are, dressing in a way that you don't normally dress, or you're communicating in a way that you don't normally dress just because you think other people might respond to it, like that's not sustainable. Like it's great. You might put together some decent videos, but it's just not a sustainable thing in terms of internally. But when you can, some people are fine working off of scripts and that's okay. But for me personally, it just wasn't how I express myself all the time. Like I'm loose, I'm a little bit messy in my communication sometimes and things like that, as if you haven't noticed yet by listening to this. But, with that, letting all of that stuff go, not only did it help me be able to communicate with my audience in a better way, but it also freed me. And on my, in my personal, feelings about the whole thing, it also helped me with my confidence as well. Because, what it changed it from was like, okay, I'm being this other person that I'm not, or I'm being me and people are responding to me, which is awesome. And with every single video that I published, I just started getting more confident and more confident and more confident, to the point to where now, I can make a video in any given moment. Like if somebody walked in the room right now and said, "Hey, Nick, let's make a video," I would be able to just make a video and I wouldn't have a second thought about it because of that, confidence that's been built up over time. So I think the big difference between the two is that one, I was confident about because I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And when I started working off of bullet points and and it wasn't just working off of bullet points at that time. It was also like, hey, you know what? I'm throwing a blue light in the background. Like I'm just doing things differently now. I'm going to throw a blue light in the background instead of, trying to be this like professional person, which I'm not, I did real estate for a while and I did commercial sales when I had a cleaning service. I did commercial sales there as well. But at the end of the day, like I'm a t-shirt and hoodie guy. I'm not a suit guy. And, for me, just putting all of that stuff out there has just made me a million times more comfortable in my own skin compared to what I was when I first started my YouTube channel.
It was really interesting you mentioning the freedom that you got from that. I don't think I've ever actually heard anybody say it like that in terms of, going from a very scripted approach to just being natural. It's very freeing. And I think so that's a really nice aha moment there. I think certainly for me, but also for perhaps for our viewers, that was a really nice way of putting it. When you think about your videos, because your videos are very engaging, right? That's the thing. One of the things I might noticed right from the beginning, even though they were scripted, but even now as well, even more so, they're very engaging. Your videos are very engaging. What makes for an engaging video? What are the elements? Okay, sure, there's your personality coming out, and maybe it's not scripted, or there's the freedom of your personality, whatever it is. Is there something else as well? Because I noticed there's sometimes quite a specific structure that you have to your videos as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Maybe other elements that go into your video, like the production or the structure, or how you think about your topics. What truly makes a video engaging?
So, of course, you have to grab people's attention right when they first start the video. So I had a very fortunate situation that I was able to bring onto YouTube. So before I started a YouTube channel, before I even started doing any type of design work or anything like that, I had a decade of door-to-door sales. I had, 4 years of commercial sales for a commercial cleaning company. And I also have done, a bunch of other random sales things as well, because I've been self-employed in one way or another since I've been 19 years old. So because of that, there's a lot of sales experience that come with that. But in this particular situation, the door-to-door thing, I think, has added tons of value to what it is that I do on YouTube, because just like on YouTube, when somebody opens their door, you got to grab their attention. Right. So I had a decade of learning how to grab attention as soon as somebody opened the door when they didn't expect for me to be just standing there at their door trying to sell them something. And I take that and I apply it to what it is that I'm doing on YouTube. Now, I could have done that, or anybody, if you're watching this right now, you can do the same exact thing. You don't need that experience. You just have to simply tell people exactly what it is that they're going to get from you, and try to think like, okay, this person that is coming into this video, and this is where knowing your audience, where I was talking about that before, the person that's coming into this video, what is it that I can say to the person that's coming into this, that just clicked on this from their homepage? What is it that I can say to this person as soon as the video starts that will resonate with that person, that will help them, one, reconfirm that they just clicked on something, that they clicked on the right thing and it's not clickbait. But two, how can I get inside that person a little bit to make them think, yeah, I need to see, what the rest of this video. So typically what that looks like is, in some cases, it'll be just telling them, hey, this is what the video is about, because it's crystal clear the value that they're going to get out of it. In other cases, you wrap it around something else. So for example, instead of just saying, I'm going to show you how to, live stream using this, I'm going to show you how to live stream using this so that you can make your live streams look professional, right? Because what people really want, they don't care about what software they use in order to live stream. As an example, what they care about is they want their live streams to look and sound good, so that they don't get judged poorly by the people that are watching the live streams, right? So because of that, wrapping it around that additional thing that they care about is another thing, because as soon as you start talking to them from that perspective, then you're pulling them right into what it is that you're doing. But in addition to that, there is the production side as well. So one of the things that you'll typically see in a lot of my videos, not all of them, but in a lot of my videos, is my framing. I'm right up in the frame. And in that situation, it's more like you just ran into me and we're having a conversation on the street versus, I'm standing all the way back here and I'm cut, at my thighs, for example, to where you see like a full body shot. Because when you're in a conversation with somebody, if you're standing there, if you and I were standing here face to face right now, in that situation, through your peripheral vision, you would only see, roughly, this much of me. So because of that, in the actual video content itself, I try to be in everybody's face, so to speak, when the videos first open. Now, I had in my other place, I did have a period of time, just because it was easy for batching content, to where I made tons of content where I was sitting at a desk. And the funny thing is with that content is I don't get the energy from sitting down that I do when I'm standing up, when I'm making content, oddly. But the actual cropping, though, from how I was in the frame for all the standing shots, all that is intentional, because I want to be in people's face when it first opens, and I want it to feel a little bit natural when they are watching the content itself. Another thing that makes a huge difference is your audio, in terms of the presence. If you're talking in your audio, because my processing, I'm not sure if this is still going to be okay or not, but if you're talking and your microphone's, way back here in that situation, then there's all of this additional room ambience that you're getting. But as soon as the microphone comes closer, everything just gets more intimate and it's louder, and they're completely surrounded, so to speak. If they're in a room and their speakers are on, if they have headphones on, they're literally completely surrounded by what you're saying, or any music that you're using in your video. But for camera presence, it's about what you're saying. But they're completely engulfed, I should say, in your words. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that your audio quality is on point, because video is great, and it is important to have quality video. Of course, get started with what it is that you have, but quality video people do perceive quality video different. Like, you can have millions of views on content that isn't made on high quality gear. However, it's just that perception of the people as they're coming into your content. If you have a high quality camera, however, it's not required. You can make videos on your iPhone, but if you make videos on your iPhone, invest in a microphone. And the reason for that is because when somebody's watching your video, if the video quality is good, but it's not perfect, it's fine. People don't really care. If the audio sucks, people are leaving, they're out of there. So because of that, invest in the audio. And in addition to just having the microphone, learn about audio processing, because what comes out of these microphones, regardless of the microphone that you're using, that's one thing. But when you actually process that audio, you add an equalizer to it, you normalize it, you add dynamics processing, and you actually go through the process of learning how to process your audio, even at a basic level. There's a YouTube channel called Mike Russell. Watch his videos on this. He goes in depth on how to do it using Adobe Audition, but you can find videos about it on YouTube. But processing your audio will take it to where your presence is, let's say, this high. It'll take it to where your presence is pretty much sitting in the room with that person that is interacting with your content. So I think that audio is a huge part of it. Framing is a huge part of it. And another thing, and of course, grabbing their attention. But I think another thing that also helps is certainty when people come into the video. Just like in real life, Gideon, if you and I were to meet in person, which hopefully we get to at an event coming up, sometime in the near future, or next time I'm in Australia, you're in Thailand. But, when we meet in person, if we meet that first time and I'm like shaky and nervous and all of that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Gideon Shalwick. And I'm, and my energy is, from there, in that situation, the perception of what is going on in our conversation is going to be altered, versus if I come up to you and I shake your hand, I'm giving you eye contact, and I come at you as a peer versus like, oh my God, it's Gideon Shalwick. Then in that situation, the dynamic of our communication is going to be drastically different. The same exact thing applies when it comes to your videos. If you're making videos and you're timid and it's clear that you do not want to be on video or that you're uncomfortable, then people are gonna pick that up on the other side. So because of that, it's advantageous. Even if you have to jump up and down, if you have to do jumping jacks, if you have to scream a little bit to kind of get some of that energy, moving around before you actually make the content, it's really important to make sure that when you are communicating in your content, that you're just confident in what it is that you're doing, and that you're certain about any information it is that you are sharing, even if it's a, how to get views on LinkedIn, or even if it's, how to use a particular tool, or if it's how to, or reviewing something or something like that. Just any time that you are communicating in video format, it's important just to make sure that you are certain as well, because people can pick that up also.
Man, I've been doing this kind of stuff. I've been in the online video industry for 14 years, and you've just dropped some crazy cool knowledge bombs there that, I haven't even come across before, like with the confidence and with the microphone stuff. Yeah, I've come across, but there's some good stuff you've dropped there, man, which is really, really cool. So thank you very much for that. I have another question here for you in terms of something else you've been doing that's been really interesting. And you were kind of one of the pioneers on YouTube to start with this, and that's the whole live streaming thing. How's that changed the game for you on YouTube?
Oh, man. So in terms of changing the game for me on like channel performance, I don't necessarily think that it's helped much, because it works against me. I always lose subscribers every time I live stream. Okay. You can actually see in my graph, like my subscribers go like this every Saturday, bam. Actually, Sunday is where I really take the hit. But my stats will go up, and then every time I live stream, people leave en masse. But that's okay. So for me, when it came to live streaming, my very first live stream on my channel was a thumbnail tutorial. And in that particular thumbnail tutorial, I had 2 people come through the live stream, and I was excited about it. I was like, oh my gosh, people are actually showing up. This is incredible. 2 people, but I was, I gave them the best thumbnail tutorial that I could at the time. And I didn't stream again for, I think it was maybe 6 months or 9 months from that point. And what had happened was I had crossed the 10,000 subscriber milestone. Brian G. Johnson, I was on a call with him, and he hit me, or I wasn't on a call with him, but he hit me up on Facebook, and we hopped on a call, and he said, hey, YouTube just rolled out the live streaming on the YouTube mobile app. You have the subscriber threshold. Do you have it yet? And I checked my phone, and I said, oh my, yeah, I do have it. I'll be right back. I'm going to hop in the other room, just do a quick stream and just see how it goes. And I went in the other room, and I ended up streaming for over 3 hours, or right around the 3-hour mark. And I was hooked from that point in time, because the very first time I streamed, I had 2 people. That time I had, I think my peak concurrence at that time was right around 300, which is a big difference from 2. And all of that interaction, and I had Roberto Blake come into the stream at that time as well. We're friends now, but at the time it was, like, holy cow, Roberto Blake's even hanging out in here. So it was a pivotal moment in terms of me for live streaming. And I've been live streaming. At that point in time, I went really hard on live streaming. I started live streaming, several times per week, but now I've been consistently live streaming every Saturday for quite some time now. So ever since that point. So it's been years that I've been doing the live stream every Saturday, with the exception of if I'm traveling or something like that. But one of the things that live streaming is great for when it comes to YouTube is, or anywhere really, is you have the people that are into your video content, and you grow that audience. You have the people that are into live streaming, and you grow that audience. The people that come and they hang out, every single time you live stream, or most of the time that you live stream. And then you also have the people that are into both. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to create an additional audience around what it is that you're doing. But that additional audience, it also allows you to engage them in ways that video content just doesn't allow. And because of that, I think that live streaming has been a really big part of how people perceive what it is that I'm doing, because of they come into the live stream. If you're a content creator, you've never seen my stuff before, you come into one of my live streams, you see all this activity, going on around the live streams right out of the gate. You have that social proof. So it works kind of like the subscribe number does on your YouTube channel, where you have that social proof when you come in. So because of that, I think that that's been extremely helpful. But more than that, it's also helped me build a community around what it is that I'm doing. And you always hear on YouTube, you hear people like me telling you the importance of growing a community around what it is that you're doing. For me, the live stream has been the starting point for that community for me. The name of my community came from a live stream. The live streams also help in terms of, how can I say this? Okay, when you are making a piece of video content, when that video content is being edited down, you're taking out imperfections. You might say the same thing 5 times, so that when it actually comes out in the video, when it's being edited down, you have 5 different ways to express one idea. And because of that, you pick the best one. You're not putting your rough stuff out. So with live streaming, the really cool thing about it is it lets people really get to know who you are, and it also highlights the imperfections that you do have. And I think that that's something that people really connect to. So for example, when this is finished, you'll probably have it edited and things like that. But if it was live and we were doing this live, any pauses, anything like that, even little details like the way that you say things, you might say things a certain way in a video because that people are going to be watching the video and that it needs to be a certain way. But in live, you communicate in the way that you communicate, because you can only fake it, so to speak, for so long until you just break down and you have to communicate in the way that you communicate because you don't have any other option when you're live streaming. So because of that, people get to know the nuances of your personality. And in addition to that, little details will pop up in live streams as well that help on the relatability side. So for example, if you're live streaming and people start noticing that you eat a certain food all the time in your live streaming, you have a particular snack or a particular drink, it'll become a thing over time. And before you know it, when people are out in the real world, and this is what happened to us as well with M&Ms, but when you're out in the real world, people will send you pictures on Twitter, or they'll send you an email like, hey, I was at 7-Eleven and, I saw these M&Ms and it made me think of you guys. And by you guys, I mean me and my brother D, because he used to stream with me as well. But, they'll send pictures of like that kind of stuff. When we go to events, people will bring us big bags or big boxes of M&Ms to where, it just becomes a thing. But through video content, it's still possible, but not at the level that it is when it comes to the live streams of people just getting to know things like that. But the personality side is also there. So for example, when my brother was streaming with me, his job in the live stream was to derail the live stream, because with me, I tend to talk a lot and I tend to, just laser focus on the questions that people have that we answer during the streams. But with him, his job there was to derail things so that we'd break it up a little bit so it wouldn't be as exhausting for people to listen to from the informational standpoint. So when he would derail things, we might have a 5-minute segment where we're talking about Star Wars. Well, what that does is all the people in the live stream that are Star Wars fans, right out of the gate, guess what just happened? That just elevated us with them, because they're like, oh, hey, wow, I didn't even know that you were into Star Wars. This is fantastic. And then, right there's that deeper connection that was just created with that person. When we start talking about, other things, even the little details like, hey, what do you put on a pizza? Because it just ends up coming up in the random conversation on a live stream. Even little details like that are like, oh, you like pineapple on pizza too? Wow, this is crazy, right? So, those types of things in terms of the nuances of your personality and who you are, all of that stuff over time comes out in the live streams, and it can really help you connect to the people that are interacting with your content as well.
Man, it sounds like an awesome way to just build that connection with your community and building up the community. So I'm really glad you went through that as well. Nick, we're heading towards the end of today's chat, and I wish I could talk to you longer, but I want to keep this more brief for people so it's consumable. One last question, and that is, given the success you've reached, what do you think is different about you? Why do you think you've been able to get to this level and some others don't?
I think that it's dedication. For me, even though I'm lazy about it sometimes, and transparency, even though I'm lazy about it sometimes, and there's some things that I could be, there's actually a lot of things that I could be doing a lot better. But for me, I think that the thing that's changed for me personally is that with everything else that I've ever done, I've never felt that I've been able to impact other people or add like real value to people in a serious way. Like for example, like with design, sure, you make stuff for people and, maybe you make an ad for them that gets clicked on more or something like that. That's fine. And maybe with the cleaning service, sure, maybe the value is that they walk into an office and they can start their day fresh because they don't have a messy place. With the door-to-door thing, maybe I help them save some money on some car maintenance, right? But in terms of YouTube, the really amazing thing there is that I feel that the value that I've been able to add to people based on the feedback that I've gotten is immense, in terms of it's helped them be able to understand what they need to do in order to live stream, or in order to upload something from their phone, or in order to, make a pivot or make some type of change on their YouTube channel that helps them, start getting what it is that they actually came onto the platform for in the first place. The fulfillment that comes from that is something that I've never experienced before. And every single day when I open up my Twitter, when I open up my Instagram messages, if I open up my email, every single day, it's just getting reinforced. And because of that, for me, the thing that's changed is it just makes me feel awesome and fulfilled that I'm able to help people in some way, even though in some cases, like if somebody's not like a content creator, for example, to them, they might think, oh, well, it's just YouTube and, it's not that big of a deal. However, when you go somewhere and you have somebody walk up to you and say, hey, I started watching your videos. I just ran across one on YouTube. And because of that, I started a YouTube channel. And because of that, all of these crazy things, that have been awesome in my life have happened. Or, hey, I was watching one of your live streams or one of your videos and you mentioned this particular thing. And I started, focusing on that. And then now the channel's like rocking and I'm able to support my family and stop, quit my job and all these things like that. Like those types of, or that type of feedback, the fulfillment that comes from that is something that I've never experienced. Like it makes me feel, and this is going to sound super corny, but it kind of makes me feel like I have like an additional purpose in terms of, like I'm able to, add value to just random people, all over the planet, whoever ends up consuming the content. And it feels awesome.
Man, that's great. It's such a great story, man. And it's like, even in this interview, like you're just not holding back. You're giving us so much value. It's incredible. I want to share with people where they can find you and find out more about you. There's one thing that I'll kickstart off with, and that's your YouTube channel, of course, which is, if you just search for Nick Nimmin on YouTube, you'll find it. It'll be the top one that comes up. You'll see there, subscribe for YouTuber tips. Sorry, I've got my YouTube and video tips by Nick Nimmin. Definitely check that out. Make sure you subscribe and watch Nick's content. Nick, you want to talk? I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your website as well. Tell us a bit more about what's going on there. You've got a few cool things happening there.
Yeah, if you just go to nicknimmin.com, that will help you find some other things that I'm involved with there. My podcast is there, my YouTube channel, my website that Gideon mentioned before. Currently, I'm not offering consulting services, but that link is still on there as well. I actually need to do some website maintenance, but if you just go to nicknimmin.com, all roads lead to Rome, so to speak.
Too easy. I think that's a good place. So guys, please check out nicknimmin.com for more information about Nick. Nick, I'm just so glad that we connected again and we're able to have this chat. I mean, I've learned a ton from just this call, and I'm sure everyone else watching this or listening to this will learn a ton as well. Thank you so much, and it's so
thank you,
great
Gideon.
To
like I said before, man, it's an honor to be here, and it's a bit surreal as well. What's funny is just as a quick sidebar here, like I do things like this, quite a bit in terms of like podcasts and things like that. But this one, before I started, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting ready to go on here with Gideon. Like my palms are like, oh man, this is great. So yeah, like I'm really excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to have the conversation. One, two, to share a little bit with your audience.
Well, thanks again, and I wish you all the best, Nick, and especially on your way to your first million, and then I guess the next goal is what, 10 million, 100 million, a billion?
Like that part is cool. Like reaching the higher subscriber numbers are cool, but for me, like I'm already to that point to where like I feel like like of course I want more subscribers and all of that, but for me, like just showing up every day and adding value to people, like I'm there, and that's like I'm in that moment. In terms of the race, so to speak, to 1 million subscribers, like I don't really care about. Don't get me wrong, I care about crossing 1 million subscribers, but it's not something that I like think about a ton. It's more about when I start the day, it's more about how can I do something that's going to help somebody. Absolutely. So, but the subscriber numbers are cool. Don't get me wrong. The subscriber numbers are great. It's awesome having.
Certainly, and you certainly. I think you're about impact, and that's really what strikes me about you. That's really awesome. Finally, guys, just one more thing. If you are interested in Splashio, our service for helping you getting your videos ready for social media and getting them more engaging, head on over to splashio.com and check that out. We've got a free trial there. You can get your first 4 videos done for completely free. Nick, once again, thank you so much. And again, wishing you all the best and looking forward to our next chat.
Thank you.